You're sitting at the closing table in Irvine. Cashier's check for $140,000 in hand. 20% down on your $700,000 condo. The escrow officer slides over the settlement statement. You're scanning for the final number, expecting maybe $3,000 in closing costs like your friend paid in Texas. Your eyes find the bottom line, $87,400 due at closing. You read it again, $87,000. You look up, confused. Is this wrong? The officer doesn't even glance at the paper. No, that's correct. Mello Roos transfer taxes, supplemental assessments. It's all standard for California. Sound familiar? Maybe you haven't sat at that table yet, but you've felt that creeping suspicion that the price you see isn't the price you pay. You've heard whispers about special assessments and supplemental taxes, but nobody explained what those actually cost. Every calculator you used, every affordability guide you read, focused on the mortgage payment. Nobody mentioned you'd need another $90,000 cash beyond your down payment just to get the keys. Here's what we're doing today. We're documenting every hidden fee, every California-specific tax, every surprise bill that arrives after closing. We're building the complete accounting of what buying a home in California actually costs once you account for every fee the real estate industry doesn't mention until closing day. By the end, you'll know the real price of California homeownership and can decide if you're actually willing to pay it. This isn't about the mortgage. Everyone knows California mortgages are expensive. This is about the $80,000 to $100,000 in additional costs that hit before you even make your first payment. Let's establish what $700,000 actually buys you in California today. You're getting a 1,200 square foot condo built in 1985. Popcorn ceilings, original oak cabinets, linoleum in the kitchen that's been there since Bush Sr. was president. You're 45 minutes from your job with no traffic, 90 minutes in reality. The school district is decent, but not prestigious. There's no yard. You share 2 walls with neighbors. Here's what $700,000 gets you elsewhere. In Austin, you're looking at 2,800 square feet of new construction with a 2-car garage. In Phoenix, 2,400 square feet with a pool and mountain views. In Atlanta, 3,200 square feet in the top school district with a half-acre lot. You're already paying a California premium just for the privilege of the address. The price gap is obvious. Everyone knows California costs more, but here's what nobody tells you. The fees aren't even included in that premium. The price you see is just the beginning of what you'll actually pay. Let's start with the closing costs that exist everywhere but cost more in California. These are the standard fees you'd pay in any state, just inflated. Title insurance to protect the lender runs you $4,000. In most states, that's $2,000. Escrow fees for the neutral third party handling the transaction are $3,000. Recording fees to file the deed with the county are $800. Your home inspection costs $600. The appraisal runs $700. And homeowner's insurance, which you'll need to close, costs $2,400 annually in California versus $1,200 in most other states. Let's add this up. Title insurance, $4,000. Escrow fees, $3,000. Recording fees, $800. Home inspection, $600. Appraisal, $700. First-year homeowner's insurance, $2,400. Total, $11,500. And we haven't hit the California-specific fees yet. This is just normal closing costs, what you'd pay anywhere, just more expensive. This is your baseline. Remember that number, $11,500 for the privilege of standard paperwork and insurance. Now we enter the fees that don't exist in 49 other states. This is where California reveals its true cost. Transfer tax. You pay the state, but here's the part they don't advertise. Many cities and counties charge additional transfer taxes on top. In San Francisco, you're paying 2.5% of the purchase price. That's $17,500 on your $700,000 condo. In Oakland, 1.5% equals $10,500. Even in cheaper areas, you're looking at 0.55%, which equals $3,850. This is a tax simply for buying property. It doesn't go toward your equity. It vanishes into city coffers the moment you sign. Mello Roos tax. This is the special assessment nobody explains until closing. Your specific property has an additional $4,200 annually in Mello Roos for the next 23 years because the development you're buying in needed infrastructure in 1998. Roads, sewers, schools. The original developer passed the cost to future buyers. That's you. This isn't property tax. This is on top of property tax. At closing, you owe the prorated amount, $2,100. Supplemental property tax. California reassesses when you buy. Your property tax bill will be recalculated based on your $700,000 purchase price versus the previous owner's $300,000 assessment from 2010 when they bought. The supplemental bill arrives 3 months after closing. You owe $9,800 for the partial year adjustment. Nobody mentioned this when you were house hunting. Retrofit requirements. Depending on your building's age and location, you're facing mandatory seismic retrofitting that runs $8,000 to $15,000. Water heater bracing costs $600. Smoke detector hardwiring runs $1,200. Average retrofit total, $11,000. These aren't optional. You cannot close without proof of compliance. HOA transfer fees, not your monthly HOA dues. This is the one-time transfer fee just for buying into the association. $500 to process your purchase. Move-in deposit of $1,000, which you'll theoretically get back. Document preparation fee of $350 for paperwork that already exists. Let's add up the California-specific fees. Transfer tax, moderate city, $3,850. Mello Roos prorated, $2,100. Supplemental property tax, $9,800. Retrofit requirements, $11,000. HOA transfer fees, $1,850. Total California-specific extraction, $28,600, and that's using the moderate transfer tax rate. If you're buying in San Francisco or Oakland, add another $7,000 to $14,000 to that total. Now we build the complete picture. Here's every dollar you need to actually buy that $700,000 California condo. Down payment at 20%, $140,000. Standard closing costs, $11,500. California-specific fees, $28,600. First-year insurance and property tax prepayment, $8,400 retrofit and compliance work, $11,000. Moving costs and immediate repairs, $6,000. Let's add this up. Down payment, $140,000. Standard closing costs, $11,500 California fees, $28,600. Prepayments, $8,400. Retrofits, $11,000. Moving and repairs, $6,000. Total cash required at closing, $205,500. But here's where it gets worse. That's just to get the keys. Let's look at your complete year one costs. Cash at closing, $205,500. Mortgage payments months 1 through 12, $34,800 property tax, $8,750. Mello Roos, $4,200. HOA fees, $4,800. Maintenance and repairs, $7,000. Utilities, $3,600. Year one total, $268,650. Look at that number. Really look at it. To buy a $700,000 condo in California, you'll spend nearly $270,000 in year one. And only $140,000 of that is building equity through your down payment. The rest? Gone forever to fees, taxes, and costs that don't exist in 49 other states. Here's the comparison. The same mortgage in Texas requires $156,000 cash at closing and $198,000 first year total. California premium, $70,650 in year one alone. That's not the price of sunshine and beaches. That's the price of a system designed to extract maximum fees from people who've already fallen in love with the property. Meet Sarah and Marcus. Combined income $165,000. That's 90th percentile for millennials. They're doing well. Better than 9 out of 10 people their age. They bought the $700,000 condo we've been discussing. Here's their actual monthly budget after closing. Combined, take home after taxes, healthcare, and retirement contributions. $9,200. Mortgage plus insurance plus property tax plus HOA plus Mello Roos, $3,850. Student loans, $890. Car payments, $650. Car insurance, $340. Groceries, $800. Utilities, $300. Gas, $400. Minimum retirement contributions at 10%, $1,375. Emergency fund replacement after depleting for closing, $800. Remaining $795, they make $165,000 and have less than $800 monthly discretionary spending after buying a starter condo. And they make 6 figures. Let that sink in. Here's what that actually feels like day to day. It feels like Sarah crying in the car after declining to be a bridesmaid because she can't afford the $900 dress and $600 flight. It feels like Marcus calculating whether they can afford to replace their dying dishwasher or just wash by hand for a year to avoid the $800 expense. It feels like skipping every wedding, every vacation, every restaurant dinner that isn't a special occasion. It feels like Marcus driving for Uber on Saturdays to rebuild their savings after spending $205,000 at closing. No kids yet because they can't afford the $2,000 monthly for childcare. No emergency fund because they drained it for retrofit requirements. No retirement increases because the $795 remaining barely covers their car registration and the occasional medical copay. They're house poor, and they're in the top 10% of earners their age. So who profits from keeping this hidden? Real estate agents are commissioned on the sale price, not your financial survival. When they say, don't worry about closing costs, we can negotiate that, they mean the seller might cover your $11,000 in standard fees. They're not mentioning the $28,000 in California-specific fees that are non-negotiable. Their incentive is the sale, not your solvency. Lenders give you pre-approval based on your mortgage payment only. They never mention the $90,000 in fees you need saved separately. They'll approve you for a $700,000 purchase if you can afford the monthly payment, regardless of whether you can actually survive the first-year total costs. They profit from origination fees. Your struggle after closing isn't their problem. Sellers and builders market the monthly payment, never the true cost of entry. Every listing highlights the mortgage calculator. None of them show the complete first-year accounting we just built. They know the emotional attachment happens before the financial reality hits. Local governments are addicted to transfer tax revenue. San Francisco generates $400 million annually just from people buying homes. Oakland pulls in $120 million. These cities have built their budgets around extraction from home buyers. They have zero incentive to reduce or eliminate these fees. And then there's the cultural narrative. Everyone struggles at first. It's an investment. California is expensive, but it's worth it. These phrases normalize financial destruction and shame people who hesitate. The system isn't designed to inform you. It's designed to extract maximum fees from people who've already fallen in love with a property and can't walk away without feeling like they failed. Nobody makes money when you say no thanks. That's why nobody tells you the complete truth until you're sitting at the closing table with your cashier's check already written. Here's your warning threshold, and I need you to hear this clearly. If you're making under $200,000 combined, you cannot afford a $700,000 California home without devastating financial stress. Not, it'll be tight. Not, we'll make it work. You cannot afford it. Let me give you permission to do something radical. You can choose not to play this game. Here are valid alternatives we're validating today. Rent indefinitely and invest the difference between rent and total ownership costs in index funds. You'll build real wealth without the California fee extraction, buy in a no-income tax state like Texas, Tennessee, or Florida, and build equity without Mello Roos, without supplemental assessments, without transfer taxes that equal a new car. Wait until you're making $250,000 combined and can actually afford the California premium without destroying your financial life. Accept that California homeownership isn't for everyone anymore, and that's okay. It's not a moral failing, it's a mathematical reality. You are not failing by choosing not to buy in California. You're protecting yourself from a system designed to extract everything you have. The dream they're selling costs $270,000 in year one. If you don't have that and can sleep soundly anyway, you're not missing out. You're making the smartest financial decision of your life. The math doesn't work. It cannot work. It will not work for most people earning under $200,000. That's not your fault. That's not your failure. That's the system working exactly as designed, to separate you from every dollar you have while convincing you it's an investment. Real wealth isn't owning property in California. Real wealth is freedom. It's having money left after housing. It's not driving for Uber on Saturdays to afford your dishwasher repair. It's being able to say yes to being in your friend's wedding. It's actually having the life you moved to California to live instead of just having the address. The closing table scene we opened with? That's your future if you ignore this math. $87,000 due and the sick feeling that you've made a terrible mistake, but it's too late to turn back. Or you can choose differently. You can walk away, you can pretend